Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Diabetic Toolbox, where we are on a mission to end type 2 diabetes, one family at a time, through education, support, and empowerment. If this is our first time meeting, my name is Renee. I am an emotional eating and diabetes lifestyle coach and yoga teacher, and I help folks over 40 diagnosed with prediabetes or type 2 diabetes to lower their blood sugar, lose weight, and increase mobility without starving themselves or spending hours a day in the gym. Before we get started, I want to let you guys in on this new musical find that I found on Amazon Music. His name is Alexis French. And I'm sure he's not new to you guys, but he's new to me. If you are looking for some soft, inspirational music to add to your morning or evening routine, I would suggest you check him out. His music is amazing. It's instrumental. It's just really nice. It's a great way that I have found to start my mornings. And I think you will too. So I'm going to post a link in the show notes so that you can check him out. So today we are talking about why changing your mindset is one of the most important steps in creating your wellness program. When I first started my wellness program, I thought the answer was finding the perfect plan. And as a researcher, that is what I set out to do. I bought the journals, I highlighted the meal plans, I listened to motivational podcasts on my morning commute. Every Monday, though, felt like a fresh start. This was going to be the week that everything changed. But then life would happen. A stressful day at work, another argument with my soon-to-be ex-husband, the exhaustion that settles into your spirit after you have worked 12 hours, taking care of everyone except yourself. I would come home completely drained of energy, and the only thing that I could do was to lie on my sofa, turn on my favorite British mysteries, and reach for something to eat. I didn't reach for something to eat because I was hungry. I wasn't necessarily hungry because I had been grazing all day. I reached for something to eat because I was tired and overwhelmed, and food felt easier to me than dealing with the crap that I was carrying. And what made it even harder was the fear lurking in the background. Was my prediabetes going to develop into type 2 diabetes? Was I going to end up like my mom, giving myself insulin shots every day? Had my future already been decided? After swirling those thoughts around in my brain for a while, I would make another plan, and I would start again, and I would fall off again. And maybe you have lived some version of this story too. Eventually, what I found out, working with my coach and my therapist, surprised the heck out of me. My biggest obstacle was not lack of information. I knew how to find the information. I knew what healthy foods look like. I knew that exercise was important. I knew that sleep mattered. The real struggle was the conversation happening inside my own head. Every time that I would try to make a change, my old beliefs would shout at me, "You've tried every diet, every diet, every diet." Diabetes runs in your family. You might as well just get used to it. Or, "I'm just too old to change. I've been living this way for a long time, and maybe, just maybe, you can't teach an old dog new tricks." These thoughts felt true to me because I had repeated them to myself for years. They became the lens that I viewed every setback, every challenge, and every attempt to improve my health. The moment something went wrong, those beliefs would rush in to confirm, "See, we told you." What I already feared about myself was true. And see, when you believe that failure is waiting around every corner, one difficult day feels like proof that you can't succeed no matter what you do. When you believe your future is already written, it becomes almost impossible to get a different outcome. And when you believe that change belongs to younger people, every birthday feels like another reason to throw in the towel. The weight of our old beliefs can weigh on us like a ton of bricks. They drain your energy long before you ever step on the scale or check your blood sugar. And one of the most powerful lessons that I have learned was that confidence does not come from motivation, because motivation will come and go. Confidence comes from trust. Specifically, and most importantly, trusting in yourself. You know, for years and years and years, I made promises to myself that I was going to completely change my life. And of course, it would happen overnight, and I would wake up and be a success. Then, when I could not manage the pace of that change, I felt disappointed, discouraged, and ashamed. And it didn't help that the folks around me that are no longer around me were saying things like, "Wow, you're doing that again? Didn't you try that last month? Do you think it's going to work this time? I don't know, because you've been doing it for a while." What finally helped me to start keeping promises to myself was realizing that taking a 10-minute walk after dinner was enough. That getting up in the morning and making myself a boiled egg and Greek yogurt with berries for breakfast instead of going through the drive-through was enough. And maybe your promise might be to drink more water before reaching for a snack or your first cup of coffee. But every time you follow through, you send yourself a message that says, "I can count on me." And that message that we send to ourselves matters so much, especially when you are trying to manage prediabetes or type 2 diabetes every single day. Because every promise kept becomes evidence against the old story that says, "You always quit." Every promise kept challenges the belief that change is impossible. And every promise that you keep to yourself builds a new identity, one that is based on trust instead of criticism. You know, I knew about this, about building trust with yourself, about replacing self-criticism with positive self-talk. I taught it for years when I worked in the mental health field. When you're dealing with folks that have been dealing with mental health for most of their lives or addictions, the trust that they have in themselves starts to go. It's depleted. It's gone. Not to mention the trust that they have lost with, family members, friends, coworkers, acquaintances. So that was something I had to teach them, how to rebuild trust for themselves. Because when you're dealing with any type of chronic ailment, you have to be able to depend on you, whether you're motivated to do the thing or not. When the cravings come, you have to have something in your toolbox that is going to help you to navigate the cravings without giving in. And a lot of people think that they need to be healthier first and then they can believe in themselves. But I believe that the opposite is true. The journey begins when you start treating yourself like someone worth caring for now. Not when you lose 20 pounds, not after your next good doctor's appointment, not after your blood sugar reaches the right level, but right now. I was the woman who dreamt about wearing the sundress hanging in her closet, but she couldn't fit into it. That woman needed compassion, and I could not give it to her. The man who is worried about his latest A1C deserves encouragement today. The person who has started and stopped more wellness plans than they can count deserves another chance today. And mindset work is not about pretending that everything is okay. It is about learning to challenge the stories that keep you stuck. And a lot of us have so many stories, especially when it comes to health and wellness, that we've been carrying around with us our whole lives. And now we need to recognize that a difficult chapter is not the same thing as a permanent ending. We have to realize that this is about understanding that your thoughts influence your actions far more than any meal ever will. And when you begin changing the way you speak to yourself, you create space for different choices. Those choices can lead to different outcomes, and those outcomes can create a life that once felt completely out of reach. Not once in a million years did I ever think I would be teaching a yoga class. I had gone to yoga so many times for years and years and years, never thought that I would get certified to teach. I did not feel qualified, but I was. And that's what I want you to understand today. You're already qualified. You just need to walk into the thoughts, and the thoughts will lead you to the person that you want to become. Now, I know a lot of you might be thinking, right, whatever. That sounds a little bit out there. And you know what? It is a little bit out there. And that's okay. but it's also grounded in science. And I believe that if you believe in yourself, not discounting the fact that you have a chronic illness that you have to manage every day, but believing in yourself that you can do it. One small step at a time. Nothing big, nothing newsworthy. This week, you might walk 10 minutes every day. That's 70 minutes of walking. And then the next week, you might feel like adding another minute. That's what I mean. Giving yourself small wins. I would create a program for myself that had 3 parts. So it was cycling, weight training, and yoga. And then I realized that doing all 3 in one day was hard for me, especially in the beginning. Not only was I overweight, but I was dealing with arthritis, high levels of inflammation, and everything hurt. So then I said, what if I just did 10 minutes of cycling one day, and then the next day I did 10 minutes of weight training, and then the next day I did 10 minutes of yoga? And so that's what I did. And you know what? It worked. Now I can do all 3 on the same day, but in the beginning I couldn't. And instead of punishing myself for not being able to, I learned to split up my workouts so that 10 minutes turned into 12 and 12 turned into 15. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Before you move on with your day, I want you to grab a piece of paper and write down one belief that you have about yourself that may be holding you back. You don't have to share this with anyone. This is just between you and yourself. And maybe your thoughts are something like, I've failed every diet I have ever tried. I'm too old to change. Diabetes is inevitable. And then I want you to ask yourself one question. Is this a fact? Or is this a story that you've been telling yourself? And be honest with your answer, because awareness is often where transformation begins. You cannot change a belief that you have never examined. If there is one thing I hope you take away from today's conversation, it's this. Your mindset matters. What you think matters. And that is why mindset is part of the diabetic toolbox framework. Because mindset matters. The plans, the recipes, the workouts, and strategies, they all have value and they are all important. But none of them can overcome beliefs that constantly tell you that change is impossible. I know because I lived it. I spent years believing I lacked willpower when the real issue was that I was carrying so much fear and exhaustion and disappointment and old stories that no longer served me. But the good news is that these beliefs are not permanent and that they can be changed. They can be questioned and they can be replaced. And that is what we are going to do today. Your past attempts do not define your future. And one difficult season does not determine the rest of your life. No matter where you are today, you can begin writing a different story. One promise, one decision, one thought at a time. So before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a resource that I've created to help you take action. It's called the Diabetic Toolbox Weight Training Guide, and it is designed specifically for folks with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. If you want to start or restart your weight training or movement program, this guide will help you do it. It is completely free, and you can grab your copy in the show notes. All right, my friend, that is all I have for you today. Please share this episode with someone you love. This week on the podcast, we are going to do a deep dive into mindset, because this is where your foundation begins to firm up and take shape. So I hope you will join me this week. And until next time, please take care of yourself and each other. Bye for now.